What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be installing some coilovers from BC Racing onto the Corolla. This is the extreme low variant of the BR series, so they are lower than standard BC Racing coilovers. These are the BC Racing springs. I did not get the Swift springs. These are just the standard option. It's going to be my first set of coilovers. Pretty excited. All right, first things first, we are going to be doing the front of the vehicle. In order to access the top hats, we need to remove this, I think it's called the cowl or something like that. What I'm going to start with is these windshield wipers too, because this whole plastic piece needs to come out. So you're just going to get a little flathead screwdriver. There's going to be a little indentation or separation, I should say. Here, put your flathead and you're just gonna wiggle it a little bit. Don't break it off too quick, and then we have access to these. So let's start by removing that. All right, and these are 14 millimeters, so just get your standard ratchet and socket. Start loosening that. All right, same with the other side. All right, so basically the wipers are spring loaded here. You're just gonna push this up a bit so that it lines up straight when you pop it off, and just pull it off like that. Shouldn't take too much force. Next, we're going to be taking off these little tabs here. There's one here, here, there, and there. You should just get a flathead and put it under. You're gonna be gentle with these because you don't want to break them. You're just gonna be wiggling and they should come out pretty easily. After those are out, you could just pop these up halfway through. You don't need to take them off completely. They should be pretty loose. All right, so that's removed. There's a little groove here that you're basically gonna be pulling up this way. You're not gonna be yanking it towards you. So just push up, a little bit of force, but overall it came out pretty smoothly. All right, before I jack up the car in the front, let's do a little comparison. So as of right now, this is how high I am. I'd say 2 fingers for sure. In terms of the height in the front. In the back, we are about the same, a little over 2. My goal is to lower the back about, I'd say, maybe 2 inches, maybe a little less, we'll see. But I think 2 inches should be pretty solid. And then the front, I want to just kind of make it almost right where the tires. The coilovers actually have front camber plates, so I'm going to actually try to do max camber. I believe it's 2 degrees negative or positive, but I'm going to do negative, of course. But the back doesn't have any camber adjustment. So the front, I'm going to have camber for sure, so that I don't scrub or rub too much or at all is my goal. And then the back, I may get camber arms later on, but we'll kind of see how it lowers naturally just by the coilovers by themselves. All right, so enough of that. Let's raise the front of the Corolla. All right, we have raised the vehicle, removed the wheel. That's pretty self-explanatory. When tackling jobs like this, when I don't know everything, I just basically do this. So I look at what I am working on and what is actually directly connected to it. So I see these 2 bolts. I see this, looks like a speed brake sensor. I see this sway link, which they actually provided different ones, BC Racing, smaller ones, shorter. And then at the top, we see 1, 2, 3 bolts. So in total, it should be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 items that I can see right now that I have to remove or put to the side or replace, etc. So we're gonna start with these 2 right here. These look like 22s. All right, looks like 22 works. You're gonna get something on this side to hold it while this is spinning. So I'm gonna grab a wrench. All right, so if you put an impact out, you could use another, you don't need an impact per se, but it does make your life a lot easier. On this side, a 7/8 did fit, but it is a little loose, I will say. So this is the only thing that I found to work for me in terms of what I have available. But yeah, so I'm just gonna loosen this. I'm gonna hold one side while I use the impact on the other, or just another big ratchet, or even another wrench if you have. So it will take some effort. These are on pretty tight, but just be aware of that. I'm gonna need to do the bottom the same next. All right, so both of these are loose. I'm gonna keep them on for now. Next, I'm gonna take off this little sensor right here. Looks like a 14 mil will work. So you're gonna put your ratchet and start loosening it. Okay, and then you're gonna take this part off as well. You just get a little flathead. Same thing with the tabs at the top. Put it in, wiggle it a bit, and then you can coax it out. So these are separate. Okay, now we're gonna take the sway bar links, I believe they're called, off. So these look a little tricky. You may need this is just for an example, like a wrench here, and then an Allen key on the inside for it to actually loosen, or else this would just keep spinning. Telling you from experience, I remember trying to do this on my Mitsubishi a long time ago, and yeah, figured that one out a little too late. But let's start with that. Let's see what fits this. All right, so your Allen key is gonna basically be static. You're gonna be holding it with one hand. I can't film with 3 hands, so pretend I'm holding it with one hand, and then you're gonna get your wrench or ratcheting wrench, and twist while you're holding it in place with the other hand. All right, same thing with the bottom. All right, so I'm gonna do this later once the actual unit is off, but I did take this one. Gonna need to coax this up a little bit to release this. Right now I'm just using regular mallet. It doesn't take a lot of force to just, oh man, this is hard with one hand, but basically you're gonna hit these out, these studs. All right. All right, so these are off. You will have to unthread these like so once they start hitting right here, or you can just use a wrench or ratchet to take them out. I am putting a little pressure with my jack on the lower control arm just to keep it stable. Right now, everything down here is pretty much loose for the most part. Now we're gonna move to the top. We have 1, 2, and 3. We're gonna see what size these are. I believe they're 14s, but we're gonna double check. And to confirm, they are 14s. All right, you may have some trouble with this one just because this is in the way. If you get just a regular wrench, you may have to go at an angle and loosen it, and then just hand loosen to take it out. So that's done. I've released some of the pressure on the jack, and with a little bit of persuasion, just move it back and forth, it'll pop right out. So now we look at the difference. On the BC Racing coilovers, they do label which is which. So this is front left, which means the driver's side. You can do a little comparison in terms of which side these little things are. Make sure everything matches up. Before I put it in, I am going to adjust the camber to full negative, and I'll show you how to do that right now. All right, so you're gonna loosen these with an Allen key. The further it goes in, I should say, or the further this comes towards you, the more negative camber you're coming to. So from what I understand, it's max 2 degrees. So I'm just gonna pull it up, gonna line it up so that it is centered with these, and then I'm gonna tighten these down. All right, so you're gonna basically line up this notch to where you want in terms of how much camber you want. You loosen these with an Allen wrench, and then to adjust the damping, you use this key that they give you, turn it all the way to the end till you can't turn in more, adjust once, and then from there you can adjust how hard or soft you want. So S is for supple, H is for hard. You can turn it 15 clicks if you want it in the middle, and that's what I have it at. So not too supple and not too hard. Probably best for daily driving. All right, so now we're just gonna put this in, just how we took out the old. All right, everything is buttoned up. One thing to note, so when you're putting in the sway bar links, you may have to put some tension above to actually fit them with the, I should say, stock height that it's preset at. Remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey, so the orientation which you tighten on here will be the opposite of it here, meaning if I'm going to tighten this by going right, I'm gonna have to switch that orientation on the bottom to go this way, and to loosen is gonna be vice versa. So just keep that in mind. You don't wanna be tightening when you're trying to loosen. All right, so before I actually drop it, you can see, no free toes. Oh shoot, okay. Let's do it from this side. You can see how the wheel does camber in already. So when you do max camber, you will notice that. I'm gonna drop it now. Wow. All right. Okay, so yo, this is actually a good height. I like this. Wow. Okay, so we did get lower, like I'd say about a finger, a little less than a finger. But yeah, I'm gonna do the other side, see if that makes a difference. I'm sure it will, because it'll be more leveled. All right, cool. Let's see the camber. Oh yeah, you could definitely see it. It looks so good. It's not overdone. It's not underdone, I would say. Sheesh. All right, this is what it looks like after both fronts are done. Yeah, I think it's a little too low, to be honest, but I might raise it a little bit. That's the left side. This is the right side. It's about the same. I'm not quite sure. I have to drive it around to really see. Yeah, it looks really good though, I won't lie. That's a crazy, I'm not gonna say like crazy, but it's pretty low. In terms of height from the ground, we're looking at about, I'd say 6 fingers or so. Yeah, 6 fingers. And this is for the Apex, so, oh man, I think it's even lower on some of the skid plate, but this is all plastic, so I'm not too worried, but it is pretty low still. All right, this is day 3 for me. I've been trying to do this after work. It's been pretty brutal, I won't lie, but this side is all done. Yeah, this is not how it actually looks when it's sitting. Right now it's, you know, lifted on the other side, but fronts are good. This side of the back is good. I will warn you, the back is a pain. I'll give you some tips on how to remove some stuff and what to look out for when you're taking it off and putting it on, that I had to figure out yesterday with the other side. But let's start off by taking off this wheel and see what we're looking at. All right, so the rear is a what they call unmarried or divorced set. So you have the spring here, and then you have the shock here. The shock has a bolt in the back. It's got 2 bolts at the top, and basically the spring is just in here from the control arm, which is another bolt down here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe in theory, bolts that you have to undo. Taking this off is going to pose a challenge. Because of the spacing, you could see it's not a lot of space behind. This is actually, let me see if I can get my light better. So as you can see, this is kind of angled down. It's not a complete 90 degree. So what I'm trying to get at is there's a stud here, right? It's not going to be straight out so that you can just push this strut out back perfectly. You almost have to do it at an angle like this, and it has to be pushed back like downwards. So when you're removing that, just be aware, you know, you may need to use I use some WD-40 and some light tabs from a mallet to take it off, but we'll get to that when we get to that. First thing I'm going to do is actually remove the bolt for the control arm on the bottom, and I'll show you that in a second. So the first step I did was put a jack under the control arm. Do remember this spring is under load right now, so you want to be safe. You want to put the jack under so that when you do take this bolt out, it doesn't just like fly downwards and the spring pops out. That's an extreme case. Not sure if that would actually happen, but just to be safe. So this one is going to be a 14 mil. And on the other side, you're going to see this right here. You're going to put a 17 mil wrench is what I'm going to do. This is the nut that holds it in place. And then I'm going to use the impact from this side in order to remove it. You do want to be careful. Try to remove it as straight as possible. You start removing it at an angle, it might cross thread a bit. I'm not sure, but just do it as straight as possible is what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up and get back to you in a sec. All right, now that it's loose, you can see that this control arm actually popped downwards. We do have a little bit of pressure on this jack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly release the pressure here. All right, next is going to be this bolt in the back of the actual shock. So you're going to find something that fits over it. I found this 7/8 to work. It is not a perfect fit. There's some play in terms of how tight it is. So you just want to make sure you don't round off this bolt. But it did work on the other side, so that's what I'm going to use. There's not a lot of room back here, so you have this right here, you have the sway links, you have the sway bar in your way, so you can't really fit an impact in the back. Maybe if you had one of those different impacts, like the ratchet type of impacts, that might work. I don't have one, so I'm just going to use a good old wrench and a mallet. So I'm thinking of the orientation in which I'm going to loosen it. So if I'm in the back and I'm going to tighten it this way, I need to loosen it the opposite way. So I need to go this, excuse my glove, but I'm going to go this way in terms of loosening it. So this is what you're going to be undoing right here. This right here, okay? So I can see why other tutorials kind of leave this part off, because it is pretty frustrating. But what I found was if you put the wrench this way towards the vehicle, towards the front, you kind of just hold it in the back in place so that it's not moving around. Get a mallet and hit downwards. Over time, it'll loosen it and it should come out. So I'm gonna keep at it and get back to you in a sec. So you wanna do this first before you do the top bolts. And the other side I was trying to do yesterday, when this kept jumping up and down because it was loose from up here, I couldn't really get a good solid break on the bolt when I was hammering it. So if this is stable, it'll give a lot more stability when you're hammering it down to loosen this bottom portion. The top you can easily take off. So you want to see what works best to take off the hardest part, and then work your way back in terms of doing the easiest part after. So like I was saying, as you can see, this is not straight this way. The stud is actually pointing downwards at, I'd say what, 20 degrees, something like that. So when you go ahead and take it off, you're gonna have to kind of be straight with this stud. So you're not gonna take it off this way. You gotta take it off at an angle. But because of this room behind, it's gonna prove a little difficult. You can't really push the strut back so much at an angle just because everything here is in the way. So just be aware of that. We'll get to that in a second. But now I'm gonna take these two bolts off for the top hat. And these are going to be 17 mils. So as you can see, those are pretty easy to take off. This is now easy. So it did slide out a little bit, but you're gonna get to this spot right here. So we go to the side. You're gonna need to put some kind of lubricant on the inside and outside just to slide it out easier. You may need to get something to knock this out a bit with some force. So what I used was a crowbar, kind of at this portion, not the rubber portion, and lightly tap it with this mallet in order to just coax it off. Just want to be careful not to mess up the threading on this when you're taking it off. So you're going to want to do it with some caution. But go ahead and do that. Okay, so now you have the strut out, you have the spring out, good to keep your bolts organized. And what we're gonna do is take off this top hat cover. So it should just pop off, maybe get a flathead and just take it off really quick. And here we go. Now you're gonna see that you have to take off this bolt because we have to reuse this top mount. The BC Racing does not come with it. So you're gonna get an Allen key, and then this is going to be a 19 millimeter bolt. You're gonna see how it is kind of difficult because if you look from this angle, how are you supposed to get a wrench in there? So what I did was first get the Allen key. So this is the setup I have. Basically, I'm holding this down with my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm kind of just squeezing it together. That seems to be working for me. It is very difficult to take this off just because there is some blue Loctite inside here. All right, so the nut is off. It should just slide off, just like so. Put that down. By the way, the Allen key is a 6 millimeter that I used. In case you're curious, this is the one that fit the best. Did have to change it halfway through because the other one was too small. Okay, so now you have your shock, the OEM one. You're not gonna need this bolt anymore because the BC Racing does come with it. So I'm just gonna keep this together in case I need to use it in the future. And now we're gonna move on. Let's grab the BC Racing one and then start transferring this over. All right, now you're just gonna remove the top from this rubber boot. Just gonna take some persuasion, but eventually you'll be able to just pull it off. We're gonna be reusing this. Sorry, not this. As well as this rubber boot. We're gonna take out the bump stop. Good way to take this out is to grab your old shock. Basically, now you got something to just, sorry, it's really hard to record with one hand. All right, now you got something to just push down towards, and this should push the bump stop up so it can separate the two. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That's what the bump stop looks like. Now we're gonna be putting this top hat back with the rubber cover. So this is the orientation it goes in. You're just gonna pop this back in, push it in that way until you hear a little click or a little pop. All right, so you'll be able to see how it's seated right on to the top hat. You could just grab like a wrench and push out any part that was sticking in still. All right, so that's what you need. Now we have the BC Racing shock. We're gonna put this to the side. This is going to be a 19mm bolt, so it is different than the OEM. You're gonna be using the BC Racing provided one. All right, and before we put the other cover on, you can see this has dampening adjustment as well. So if you push it to the left or right all the way to the max, do one click. Once you feel that, turn it 15 times and that'll be halfway through. So it'll be half hard, half soft, just like I did in the front of the Corolla. So I'm gonna kind of match it just so it's all the way even. Later on, maybe in the future, I'll adjust how hard or soft I want it, but at least I'll have a gauge of how it is right in the middle. So I'm just gonna put this right over. Just so. And then we're going to put the provided bolt on the top. This also has an Allen key. BC Racing does provide the Allen key to this. But as I was saying, this is a 19mm. You'll see how it fits snug perfectly on top. You're gonna be tightening this down with the Allen key just like you removed the old one. Just so you're aware, the top of the BC Racing is gonna be a 5mm Allen key with a 19mm bolt. All right, so the top hat is on. You'll see at the bottom it has a zip tie. You may be wondering, why is there a zip tie? This and this is actually removable, so these will pop off. And we're gonna take advantage of that when we install this later on. But first, let's take off the zip tie. All right, so before we put it back in, we're going to put the black cover back on top. So now it's covered. Excuse my dogs. And let's go into the car now. Okay, so as you remember, this is the stud that the bottom goes into. I actually took out one of these. You can see they just pop right out. And I'm going to put the first one in as so. I'm gonna pop this one out as well so that when I go ahead and slide this in, should go in pretty smoothly. Give me 1 second. Okay, as you can see now it fits. Now I'm going to get the other side, put it in, and it just pops right in. Hope you can see that. Now we're going to get our bolts and the washer. I'm sorry, I keep like interchanging bolt, nut, you know what I mean. So don't bother commenting. You see it, you see what I mean, so we'll just leave it at that. Tighten this down. All right, now I'm gonna get the wrench, put it back on just like I did when I took it off, but the opposite way. Okay, now we're gonna put the spring in. Make sure to put the top and bottom rubber mounts in. There is a difference, so you'll feel which one actually pops into place. Make sure this is facing up. So you can see the lettering is going up, and you can also see that the spring is not upside down this lettering is facing correctly. So now we're just gonna move this up, put in our bolts. At the end, we're gonna put these two up here, and that should do it. So I'm gonna use a jack to jack this up and line it up, and then put in the bolt. All right, and there you have it. When you're putting this in, when you jack it up, try to line this hole as best you can. Use a mallet to push this in, and then on the other way, before you knock it all the way through, make sure this is aligned, so you can put a jack literally like, hold on, let's see, like right here, just to line it up perfectly so that it goes straight through, so you're not messing up your threads. Yeah, that's about it. Don't forget to do those at the top. This is sitting straight. We're gonna put the wheel on, lower the car, and it's not gonna look the right height that I'm gonna want, but that might be in another video. I am gonna get this done professionally in terms of adjusting the right height, making sure the preload is set, and getting in alignment. But there's other videos on YouTube that does a great job explaining how to do this, how to mess with these. I just want to make sure everything is set perfectly with the preload and such. I don't want anything to be messed up. And also gonna get some camber arms installed. I'm not gonna do it myself just because the shop who's gonna do the alignment does that, specializes in that. I might record it if they let me. If not, then I'll show you guys another time. But I hope this helps you guys. Let me lower the car and so you can see how it sits from the factory, BC Racing, when they send these out. All right, so this is how it sits from the factory. This is the driver's side rear, driver's side front, passenger front. Excuse this mess. And passenger rear. I do want to lower the rear a lot more, especially with the camber arms installed. And then the fronts, I'm debating raising this a little bit just because, you know, your finger can't go straight in. It has to go at an angle. I'm not sure if you could see that. Let's see. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope this helps someone. I'm sure it's going to help at least one person. So take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye. Sorry, quick update. I just moved my car, and it looks like the back settled in a bit more. So here's the front. Oh my gosh, this back looks crazy. Here's the back. Here's the side angle. Yeah, definitely not a lot of room. But the other side looks about the same. So I'm not sure what happened, but when I did move the car, it settled right in. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe this is a bad thing, maybe I did something wrong, I don't know. But it looks good. And wow, look at that. Whew. All right, see you guys.